Hey art buffs, we're going to create Thanksgiving logs with watercolors. This project is going to help us to figure out what we're really grateful for at this time of the year and combine that with learning how to blend watercolor paints and some of the techniques that we can use to make things more beautiful with watercolors. To get started, we need a piece of watercolor paper. It's a square shape, and this one is particularly 9 by 9 inches. A cup of water, a watercolor paintbrush, a pencil, your paint pan, a skinny black Sharpie, and a ruler. I used a bucket that was just slightly shorter than the paper and traced it lightly with a mechanical pencil. Don't forget to always draw lightly. Once you remove your plate or bucket or whatever, you want to find a center point. You can do that with a ruler and marking from edge to edge in the center of the circle. And here's where I find my point. And then I want to draw out spirals. Spirals should number 6 to 7, and they don't have to be the exact same width in the spiraling out, but they need to be pretty consistent so that it doesn't look off center. Make sure that the end just gently touches the edge of the circle, and then you're going to want to create the bark with your pencil. Alrighty, so there are many ways to draw bark, and you need to have a flat point. Let me show you how not to draw bark, like that, like a third grader. Okay, make sure it has flat points, and you want to do that all the way around. And when you have finished with that, then you kind of want to give the bark a center course. So you might want to come back with your pencil and just kind of indicate a center course. You can see here, try to keep it a pretty consistent thickness all the way around. All right, once we get to that, we are ready to take our pencil and to start writing out the things that we are grateful for. Here's the example again, a very quick one. You don't have to do it in cursive. Many of you don't know how to do that. You should have made a list of at least 20 to 25 things that you really are grateful for. And what you want to do is start writing those from the very center of the spiral. So as you can see in here, I have my name out and I'm curving it. I'm constantly twisting the paper around. And notice how I am writing out my letters in between the lines. I'm not writing out those words on the line. They are going in between the line. Also notice that after every thought, I give a space and then I have 2 double dots and then another space to separate each of these ideas. That makes it a lot easier to read. I also could have done all of this with my pencil first and then gone back and written over it with my skinny Sharpie, but I'm a pretty confident writer, so I just went ahead and did it this way. If you want to go ahead and pre-write, you certainly may do that. So once you get everything written there, and you want to fill the entire space. You want to bring those words all the way out to the edge. And that's where you may want to put down names of siblings or your abuela's name or whatever it is. You want them to go all the way out just like that. Okay, now we're ready to trace the spiral lines. As you can look here on the classroom page, you can see some different spiral lines and how they have lines in between them. They're not perfect. They even add some, and it adds interest. Look at that color scheme too. Notice how the dark purple and dark blue, it's very hard to read the words. All right, so I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to outline those lines. And you'll see me go all the way through this. And then you're going to see me come back and add some extra lines. Now, at some point, I'm going to stop making perfect lines and I'm going to add dots and kind of broken lines. And that just adds more interest. Also notice how I'm holding my pen in an upright position instead of slanted. That helps to give a more even coverage of ink. Notice how my lines are a little bit wavy there too. So we're going to apply all of those lines in the spirals, and then we're going to come back and outline the bark. The last thing we're going to do is to add some extra accent lines like we saw in the original piece that's on the classroom page. And that's a great opportunity for us to add extra color and extra blending. So we'll take a look at that in just a minute. All right, now we're going to outline our bark, and then we're also going to take our Sharpie and kind of slice off a little bit of the fatter spirals and add some extra lines. Then you want to erase everything, alrighty? Make sure you put that stuff in the trash can.
Another one.
That kind of comes off of here, not too thick. You don't want it to impede the space and the balance that you have created. So let's put that one there. I like how this pencil line is here, so I'm going to just feed off of that. And I can choose to make these a totally different color. And I also want to make sure, like I have two that are on this side, three, 1, 2, 3, but there's none over here. So I need to make sure that I am balancing that thought. So I'm going to come right here and add another one on the other side. I can choose to stop it here. I probably want to do another one over here to add more balance. And I need to see if there's enough space. I decided I was just going to play with my colors. So I started with the green, and notice how it's pretty light. Then I would lighten it up even more so and add a darker color. Then I added another cool color, which would be purple, that would then blend into the blue. Onto the blue, I added a darker blue at the top. But notice how they're all light enough to read through. All right, here you see the big picture. And what you are seeing me do now is to kind of go back and touch up anything here. Let's take a look at some of the things that makes this thing more interesting. Notice where I put the little tiny skinny lines after we had drawn our spirals, and I filled those in with different colors, totally different, like the yellows in between the greens in between the yellow and the darker blue. I tried to go opposite the color wheel just to add some interest. And I also left some white lines there because that adds interest as well. You want to be sure that when you're adding these in between these colors that you've already put down, that the colors next to them are completely dry so that you don't bleed the colors. We don't want the colors to bleed into the other and to make a mess. So be careful of that. I also add dark bands of color to the bottoms or the edges of each of these colors, and then I will come back with a damp brush and kind of blend it in. And I would encourage all of you to do this because it just makes it so much more interesting. Again, don't make those colors so dark that you can't read the writing. One of the last things you want to do is go back and work on your bark again. You can add darker and lighter colors. I'm also giving some definition here to the indentations or the crevices and making them a little black.